Armstrong, President and CEO of North Arrow Minerals, and the purpose of this short presentation is just to provide a little bit of background and color on some results that we reported earlier today for the 2016 till sampling program at the Mel Diamond Project. The results we think show that we're closing in on a kimberlite bedrock source for a till sample anomaly that we've been chasing up over the last several years. I will be talking about exploration results, which means I'll be making some forward-looking statements, and it's important to keep that in mind as you listen to this. So the project is located on the Melville Peninsula in Nunavut. It's less than 20 kilometers from the Arctic Ocean and about 140 kilometers south of the community of Hull Beach and just over 200 kilometers to the northeast of the community of Nauyat. There are 3 known kimberlite fields on the Melville Peninsula, including the Killalugak field down at Nauyat, where North Arrow's been evaluating the Q1 to 4 kimberlite over the last several years. The Wales Island field was discovered by North Arrow and partners Stornoway Diamonds and BHP Diamonds. And at the north end of the peninsula is the Aviat kimberlite field that was discovered by Stornoway Diamonds. We acquired the Mel project in 2013 after identifying 2 areas of anomalous till sample results in the public assessment files, and we've been working to better define those target areas ever since. All of the results that we reported today came from a till sampling program in the Northern Train. So we're going to take you through a series of maps just to show how this indicator train is developed, and partly to give you an idea of where we're at now, but also I think it helps to just provide an idea of how this sort of exploration happens and how it builds on itself, and why sometimes there's these long delays from program to program as we collect till samples, we get them processed, we make sure we're on the right track, and then we go back, collect some more, and try and better define these things. This slide shows what the historic till sampling looked like in the northern Mel project area. These results were from the public assessment files. You can see that there's a series of sample lines where till samples have been collected, and for the most part, to the northeast, we can see there's little pies that are of different colors, and those represent indicator minerals from the till samples that were collected. The different colors mean different indicator minerals, and when we use the term indicator minerals or kimberlite indicator minerals, we're talking about minerals that have a unique chemistry that tells us as explorers that they were formed in the Earth's mantle or in a kimberlite. And for the minerals that formed in the Earth's mantle, the only way that they can get to the Earth's surface is if they're brought to the surface in a kimberlite magma or a kimberlite volcano. And those kimberlites, when they're at surface in northern Canada, where the surface has been glaciated, the glaciers would erode those kimberlites and spread those minerals or those indicator minerals as the ice moved over top. And so in this area, the ice flowed towards the northeast, and there's a little arrow on this map that shows us that. And we can see that these pies are all, for the most part, clustered in the northeastern portion of the map. And when we look to the southwestern area, the samples appear to be barren. So for our first couple of years of work, we focused our sampling on really a sort of a 5 kilometer by 5 kilometer area where it appeared that these indicator minerals would, from the public assessment files, are cut off in the southwest or the up ice direction. And those sample programs were really modest in scale. I think we spent a total of about 4 days in the area. The sample spacing was still quite wide at about a kilometer spacing, but the results of that work told us that we were onto something. We did get and confirm the fact that the indicator minerals are there, that they're real, and we start to see the definition of sort of a linear array or a linear trend to the positive sample results, and in particular in the north, where we can define what we're calling train 1, and we can see a series of about a half dozen samples that kind of line up parallel to the ice direction, and then in the southwest or the up ice direction they stop. And then further to the south, we see another sample that kind of sits out on its own. It's the most anomalous sample up to this point that had been recovered from the property. It had 22 indicator minerals in it, so essentially double what we were seeing in the public assessment data. So that'd be 22 grains and 20 kilograms of till. And so that possibly told us that maybe there's a second train further to the south. So in 2015, we did a far more intensive program. We collected over 200 till samples. We really focused them sort of within the train and also a little bit to the southwest up ice from the previous indicator minerals, just to try and define individual trains and to see how well cut off the trains actually were. The results from that program were also very positive. They're moving us in the right direction. We had a number of samples that came back with quite a few grains. We had 4 samples that came back with over 100 indicator minerals, and those samples were clustered over what we defined as sort of train 1 and train 2. In the train 1 area, we could see that you can really see here actually that there's a number of samples further to the up ice that were barren, and that gave us good confidence that we're probably cutting off those indicator trains. And the biggest circle we see in the train 1 cluster samples had over 100 indicator minerals in it. The other thing I'd point out, what we're seeing in those pies is we're seeing multiple colors. So we're seeing red, which means pyrope garnet, orange means eclogitic garnet, and the gray means ilmenite. So we're seeing what we call sort of the full suite of indicator minerals here. Probably even more exciting was what happened down at train 2, where we had a real cluster, I think it's 7 or 8 till samples that came back. 3 of them had over 100 indicator minerals. 1 had over 200 indicator minerals, so an order of magnitude more grains than we'd recovered the previous year, which was telling us we've got to be getting very close to an bedrock kimberlite source. And then interestingly, we also could see this linear trend of positive samples in between train 1 and train 2, and so possibly we're seeing a third train starting to develop, maybe not quite as high indicator counts, but it certainly appears that there could be a third train that is cut off a little bit further down ice from the heads of train 1 and train 2. So that's where we sat after the 2015 program. And so last August, we went up and collected another 100 samples in an area to really focus only up ice from the positive results from the 2015 program, only up ice from the heads of these 3 defined trains. So we had a good feeling. We knew the trains are there. They're well defined. What we really wanted to show is that the trains are cut off. And so it was one of these kind of funny programs where we actually wanted to collect barren samples. And so what we reported today is in fact that is what's happened. A lot of the samples that we collected this year came back with no indicator grains. In the train 1 area, we really didn't come back with much. Even samples that were collected in really close to the existing anomalous samples didn't come back with grains. So we think that train is very well cut off, and it may in fact actually represent possibly two sources within that train 1 that we've been evaluating. And down at train 2, we had another one of these leaps where we have a sample that came back with over 1,200 indicator minerals per 20 liters of till. That is highly anomalous. So again, almost another order of magnitude more grains than the previous high from the 2015 program. And just confirming that, certainly in our experience, once we get over 1,000 indicator minerals in a till sample, it means that we really should be close to a bedrock source. Looking at train 3, we think as well that we had a few more samples that filled it in a little bit more, but it looks like it's real. So we do seem to be looking at least 3 trains, maybe even 4, possibly 5 discrete sources might be able to be found in here. And we're at the point now where we've narrowed it down to small, sort of 500 meter by 500 meter areas that we need to take a much closer look at, and with prospecting and ground geophysics and ultimately drilling to try and find the source of these grains. We do talk about mineral chemistry a fair bit in our exploration. This slide just gives you an idea of some of the mineral chemistry that's come from the Mel Project. These analyses all came from the 2015 till sample program. The 2 plots at the bottom are of the ilmenite grains, and they're important because they show that these grains have been derived from a kimberlite. And the 2 plots at the north represent the garnet chemistry, and it shows us that clearly these garnets have come from the Earth's mantle. So what we can say from all of this is that we're recovering at the Mel Project mantle-derived pyrope garnets, mantle-derived eclogitic garnets, and they were brought to the Earth's surface in a kimberlite. And considering that those indicator trains are so well cut off now, we really should be close to that kimberlite bedrock source. And so looking forward into this summer, in the summer of 2017, we'll be looking to do some very detailed prospecting in these areas. We've really narrowed it down, as I mentioned, to sort of 500 meter by 500 meter areas that we can take a very close look at, conduct some detailed ground geophysics. We've made applications to construct an exploration camp and conduct exploration drilling on the project. Those permits are pending. We have some community consultation work and engagement work that will be happening in April. And once we have those permits in hand, we'll be in a position to be able to drill test our highest priority target. So So the whole purpose of this presentation was to sort of take you through the evolution of the Mel project so far. We've been able to work away at it with relatively modest programs and advance this target to what is now very close to being drill ready over the last 4 years. And so we'll be looking forward to the prospecting and geophysics this summer and drill testing those targets. Last slide here is just to show North Arrow's project portfolio. It's important to keep in mind, I mean, Mel is one of 7 diamond projects that we have in the company. Killalugak for us, which is that project down near the community of Nauyat, is our flagship project. We're just working to close a recently announced acquisition to acquire Stornoway's remaining interest in the project. We have a drill and fuel that's been mobilized to site, and we'll be in a position to conduct some delineation drilling there this year. And just as a reminder, it's a big kimberlite. It's located only about 7 kilometers from the community in the ocean, and it has a population of really unique orangey yellow colored diamonds that we think could really impact the valuation of the diamond population in that body. The Piku project is a discovery that we made in 2013 in Saskatchewan. We've discovered 10 discrete kimberlites there so far, and we're working on identifying targets to lead up to some more drilling there and to discover more kimberlites. Obviously, the Mel project we talked about today, the Lac de Gras joint venture with Dominion Diamonds. The Lac de Gras area is obviously the location of 2 of Canada's diamond mines, and the Lac de Gras joint venture covers ground just to the south of both of those mines. We'll be working with Dominion in the near future to come up with a program and budget for 2017 that we expect will include ground geophysics and drill testing of targets that Dominion as operator has been developing. And just to the west of Lac de Gras is North Arrow's Loki project, where we've been compiling data and coming up with a series of targets that are ready for ground geophysics and drilling, including the EGO5 kimberlite that is on that property. We also have Lux and Temiskaming projects. And then also worth reminding, we're a diamond company, but it is worth reminding folks that we do have 100% interest in a series of leases, about 10,000 acres at the north end of the Hope Bay Greenstone Belt. And this property is located only 3 kilometers north of TMAC's Doris Gold Mine. The Doris Mine is currently ramping up into production, and there's a number of gold showings on this property, and being so close to an existing mine really changes it from an exploration perspective to more of a brownfield sort of project, and we think that there's a real opportunity to look at ways of moving that project forward as well. So thanks very much for taking the time to listen to this, and as usual, if you have any questions on the Mel project or any of our other properties, please feel free to contact either myself or Nick Thomas, and we'll be happy to talk to you about them some more. Thanks very much.